Hello, my name is Jason Crable and I'm the Executive Director of the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio. I want to welcome you to this curator tour of the textiles in our new show, Russian Decorative Arts from the Tsars to the USSR. Gayle Strege is the curator of the Historic Costume and Textiles Collection at The Ohio State University. And we're honored to have her walk us through the exhibit and talk about the textile pieces that you're about to see. We want to thank our sponsors, the Ohio Arts Council, the Fox Foundation Incorporated, and the Johns family, and of course all of our members and the community for supporting us and making these wonderful world-class exhibits possible. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gayle, and I hope you enjoy the tour.
Hi, my name is Gayle Strege. I'm the curator of the Historic Costume and Textiles Collection at The Ohio State University. So the first dress that we have to look at here is a dress that dates from about 1900 to 1910. It's an evening gown, and it's attributed to the French designer Jacques Doucet. Attributed because there's no label in it anymore, and that's because the previous owner had worn this dress and she had replaced the lining on the inside and had gotten rid of the original. And you can see on the inside of the sleeves that it's sort of a pale blue color. And whether that was the original color that was replaced, we don't know. But Jacques Doucet was really known for creating dresses that were a light, filmy, transparent fabric over another pastel color. And what's great about this dress is all of the decoration on top. This is a sort of a gray, light gray net fabric that has all of these flat sequins on it. So they're not faceted. They kind of are like miniature little washers. And in several areas where you can see a density of pattern, there's padding behind those pieces to give it a little extra three-dimensionality. This dress, we know it's an evening gown because it has a lower neckline. Lower necks and short sleeves were allowed for evening wear, but not for daytime wear. The two costumes in this gallery are from the original Peters family, whose house the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio is located. And both of these garments date to roughly the turn of the century, about, again, 1900 to 1910. And the daytime dress, we can tell day wear because it has the high neck and the long sleeves. It's a beautiful black chiffon fabric over a white underdress, so that makes that contrast of the inset lace show through. It also has lovely medallions of black cut faceted glass in an oval shape. The coat, the evening coat, is also black lace, and it's what's known as a Battenberg lace. So it's a lot of ribbon laces, different laces that are stitched together to actually form a fabric. And it also has a little bit of white chiffon underneath on the inner sides of the sleeves. Black definitely was a fashion color at this time, but black combined with white was also a combination that was used in stages of mourning when there had been a death in the family. So the addition of white was a later stage of mourning. Whether both of these were something that were worn for mourning or just for fashion, we're not sure at this time, but it's a possibility that they could have been, but not necessarily so, because they were always fashionable. These two garments are from about the 1917-1918 time period, so right in keeping with the era of World War I. The beige silk dress that is here on my left has some interesting design features to it. We don't know who wore it, but it has some beautiful embroidery on a separate front piece and also some great top stitching with the same color thread embroidery outlining the collar, the apron, the hems, and a couple of these sort of separate panels over the skirt. So it's kind of a bit of a car wash feature with the panels of the skirt as an overskirt or an overdress. The embroidery actually is reminiscent of a lot of Eastern European style of embroidery that was very popular at this time in fashion. So influences coming from Russia, from the Czech Republic, from Romania, Hungary, a lot of that area. So you see a number of those kinds of embroideries on different garments at this time period. The suit on my right, this navy blue wool suit, we know actually was worn as a going away suit for a wedding in 1917. So we have an exact date on that. And you can really see the military influence of World War I in the fashion of this suit, where you have the style of the buttons and how that shows up on some military uniform styles. So that is something that throughout time, whenever we've had military conflicts, there's been a lot of military influence that will then show up in fashion as well. This overcoat is from the time period of World War I, roughly about 1918, 19. It's a nice, sturdy wool coat, and it has, interestingly, not velvet collar, but a silk plush collar. So silk plush, it's a napped fabric, so it's like a velvet. It absorbs a lot of light. But this is something that silk plush was actually one of the first sort of fake fur materials that was developed. So probably somebody of not a real high level of society, someone at a high level of society probably would have had a real fur collar around their neck. But this would have given you the look of the fur without the expense of it. So similar style in fashion, but with less costly materials. And having that nice high collar would have kept you warm regardless of whether it was real fur or fake fur. This black wool suit is really beautifully tailored. It's from about the 1940s. And I can tell that because of the really sort of squared off shoulders that started coming into fashion in the late 1930s. It also has beautiful trim, beautiful fur trim with the Astrakhan lamb that is around the collar, outlining the chest pockets and around the hem of the skirt. The suit also has fabric-covered buttons, fabric centers that have metal rims on the outside, adding to the great design features of it. We know that this suit was worn by someone who was an OSU alum and worked for the state of Ohio. But it's something that would have been very typical, especially in Russia, because this Astrakhan lamb was something that was very popular in Russian fashion, in hats and trims on coats as well. During World War II, fashions really simplified, and most of that was really due to problems of lack of materials. There in Great Britain and the United States, there were rationing of fabrics and materials that were going on, and Russia certainly was feeling some of those hardships as well. And how that resulted was a lot of wool was needed to make the uniforms for the army, for the soldiers. And so wool was really restricted in the amount of how much you could use for making dresses and coats. However, luckily for fashion, there were some synthetic fibers that had been developed, specifically acetate and rayon. So a lot of those acetates and rayons were used to imitate some of the lighter weight wool fabrics that were used in women's dresses, like this crepe fabric in this orange dress. Another thing that was needed for the war effort was metal and leather. So you find a lot of things that no longer have metal buttons or even metal zippers at times, and not a lot of metal as decorative decoration on the dress. So a lot of sort of self-fabric decoration, and we can see a lot of that in the dress by just the use of these interesting gathers here that create the drape effect going on. Also, during the war and after, certainly working class, daytime dresses, such as this very simple cotton wraparound dress, were used for women who were doing housework. You weren't going to spend a lot of time and effort and dress up just to work around the house and clean the house and do the cooking and washing. So something that was very simple, like this dress, that had, in this case, a great big patch pocket to put things in that you would be carrying around, was something that was very typical of the time period. And being a wraparound dress that you could just easily put on and tie in front was something that was very simple. So our final costume piece in this exhibit is this great little orange wool jacket designed by Anne Klein. And it just represents the whole Orange Revolution that was going on at the fall of the USSR. This little peacoat is really terrific in its design of its sort of little fake pockets on the chest, and has these wonderful little gold buttons up and down, and then the tie that just makes it very timeless. It's a classic kind of piece that could be worn today.